أهلا أهلا كيف الحال؟ Welcome to learn Arabic online with Loubna Duymayan. In today's lesson, you may be confused by the topic. But I will clear it up for you. As claimed by the classical Arabic grammar, every verb which is in the active voice must have a subject. فاعل. If the subject of a verb is implicit through inflection, then an explicit subject is added to the dependency graph as a hidden subject pronoun. So if I say أنا قلت, I said, from the verb قال, to say or to tell. So here we have the subject pronoun أنا, ضمير الفاعل, explicitly. If I omit this, قلت, still we would understand that I am talking about the first person, myself, I said, from the conjugation of the verb. So now we are referring to the subject implicitly. It is in the conjugation of the verb. So if you don't know your conjugation, you won't find who is the doer. هو يذهب, he went. So this is the explicit subject, pronoun, subject, pronoun. So if I say يذهب, still we know that we are talking about the third person singular masculine. He went. نحن نقرأ. We are reading, or we read. So if we get rid of the explicit subject, we would know from this prefix na that we are referring to the first person plural نحن, we. قرأنا, if it is conjugated in the past, this time the suffix will be the sign of the implicit subject. قرأنا, نقرأ, present tense. قرأنا, past, prefix, suffix. Similarly, every verb in the passive form must be linked to another node through a dependency relation called نائب الفاعل, the deputy doer, substitute of the doer of the verb, نائب الفاعل. It is common to confuse the word subject with doer, resulting in invalid statements such as the subject of the passive verb is missing. Really? In passive sentences, the object of the verb is the subject of their active sentences. The only thing that is really missing in the passive sentence is the doer of the verb. So, أرسل المرسل المجهول رسالة. أرسل form 4. So the anonymous sender sent a letter. So here we have the subject of أرسل المرسل, its modifying adjective, and the object of أرسل. So let's convert this to a passive sentence. So we will get rid of the subject and its modifying adjective. If there is no subject, so we don't need its modifying adjective. Alright? So we need just the verb and the object to form the passive sentence. So from أرسل, what do? We change the short vowels. The first short vowel we turn to U. Remember? U. And the one before the last will turn to I. Kasra. أرسلت. And since رسالة, the subject, which was the object in the active sentence, is feminine singular, so the conjugation of the verb has to match. أرسلت رسالة. And the case will change from accusative to nominative. A letter was sent. So, in this sentence, أرسلت رسالة, رسالة is grammatically the subject, but it can't be called the doer, فاعل, because it doesn't do the action of the sending. It is not clever enough to do the action of the verb أرسل. Maybe nobody taught the letter how to do the action. So maybe we can help with that. So, this is established in the language. However, grammatically, it is the subject. Even though there isn't a clear distinction between the two terms in English, subject, doer. But in Arabic, it is named نائب الفاعل, to differ it from الفاعل, as someone who is not really a doer but is taking its place and fulfilling its role grammatically, while the doer is absent. What a kind action. Arabic elements are really kind to each other. So imagine the White House with the president and the vice president. When the president is away or unable to fulfill his duties, the vice president takes on the mantle of power as a substitute of the president or the deputy president, vice president, even though usually he is the vice president, unless he plans to become the president, so he may have to do something to become the president, to upgrade. So there is a hope for the naibul fa'il to upgrade to fa'il one day. In any case, although the terminology is or should be meaningful, at some point you just get used to it and roll with it. I once read an argument about past present tenses versus perfect, imperfect. Sometimes I say past tense or imperfect tense, or present tense, past tense, perfect tense. Oh, it's so confusing. Present, imperfect. So that made my brain hurt. People keep inventing English equivalents for the Arabic terms, which is simply for these al-madi for the past الماضي and المضارع for the present or imperfect. المضارع. That's simple. So, نائب الفاعل takes the place of the subject doer when the omission happens. Why do we use the passive voice with the omission of the doer? Because the doer is already well known that we do not need to mention his name. Or when you fear mentioning his name. If you dislike to talk about a specific man of action, or if you want to skip mentioning his name that irritates you, you have just to apply the passive voice to the active voice sentence, because you will never find the doer in the passive scene. Instead, you will deal with his substitute, the dutiful one, doing his new task in the optimum way. So, passive voice to the rescue. Or you do not want anybody to hear you gossiping about him or her. So نائب الفاعل can be implicit or explicit as an apparent noun. أستثنيت. I picked a hard verb, I think. استثنى. استثنى from form 10. It means to exclude someone or something from, or to accept. أستثنيت. Here the subject is implicit. So from the conjugation we would know that I am talking about the first person. Me. I was excluded. For me. Or it may be explicit. We may use the subject pronouns. أنا, أنت, أنتِ, I, you, etc. ما يستثنى إلا أنا. يستثنى here is in the مضارع, imperfect or present tense. So nobody is excluded but me. Okay? استثنيت أحزاب السياسة من رخص البث. Political parties, حزب, party. حزب. أحزاب is the plural of حزب. Political parties were excluded from broadcasting licenses. البث, broadcasting. رخص, licenses. The singular of رخص, رخصة, license. Here the subject is an apparent noun. أحزاب السياسة. Okay? If a transitive verb has two objects, or the transitive verb, the one with two objects, the first one will become the subject of the passive sentence, while the second object will stay as is, as an object. ظننت الصديق أخا, from the verb ظن. ظن, to think or to assume. I thought the friend is a brother. So we have two objects. So when we will render this active sentence to a passive one, we will use the first object, الصديق, the friend. So ظن, for the geminate verb, when rendered to a passive form, we will just change the first short vowel to u, ضو. ظن الصديق. So here الصديق is the subject of ظن. So it will be in the nominative case as the regular فاعل, as the regular doer. Nominative case. أخا will stay as is, and it will keep the case, the accusative case, because it is the object of this sentence. ظن الصديق أخا. وقف السائق أمام الإشارة. The driver stopped in front of the sign. Here the subject is followed by an adverbial clause. So we don't have any other choice but using this adverbial clause as نائب الفاعل, deputy, or the substitute of the doer. So how is this going to work? So وقف, 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 وقف. It will inflect. The fatha will change to ضمة. أمام الإشارة. This is an إضافة construction, so we will bring the whole clause. وقف أمام الإشارة. So this is the نائب الفاعل, this adverbial clause. What if we have a prepositional phrase? يسهر الناس في ليل الصيف. People stay up in the summer nights. So سهر, stay up. سهر. So people stay up in the summer night. ليل الصيف, في ليل الصيف. So يسهر, this is conjugated in المضارع, the imperfect. So u for the first short vowel, and fatha, we keep the fatha. If we don't have fatha, we have to put fatha before the last short vowel. يسهر, we will get rid of the preposition fi. So we will keep just the adverbial phrase. ليل الصيف. This is an adverb of time. ظرف زمان. ظرف زمان. Here, adverb of place. ظرف مكان. So يسهر ليل الصيف. Some verbs appear in the form of the passive voice, but they are actually active. So they were born to be passive. Like some people. حمى. This is an active verb. غم, also an active verb. زكم. جن. أغمية. That's so hard for the beginners to discern between the active and passive verb in this case. So hard. So حمى, but there are few of them. حمى الطفل, the baby had a fever. حمى, to have a fever. غم الهلال, the crescent disappeared. So غم, if you are talking about the moon or الهلال, the crescent, so we would say the crescent disappeared. زكم الرجل, زكم, the man got a cold, to get a cold. زكم. جن الشاب, the young man went crazy. So junna, to go crazy, like that it happens to anybody, right? Junna, to go crazy. أغمي عليه, mostly when it means to faint, you have to use the preposition على together with أغمية. أغمية على. أغمية عليه, he fainted, or he became unconscious, or even he passed out. أمتقع means to become pale. أمتقع. I hope that you were pleased to meet Mr. Deputy Doer. Better be, because you will deal with him a lot in our future meetings, especially when we will be learning more about the passive participle, اسم المفعول. I am preparing you to harder lessons. So better understand these simple ones. Until then, you like me, and miss me, and you keep learning Arabic. مع السلامة.